What if the animals you keep seeing aren't random at all? What if that butterfly dancing near your window, that bird that won't stop singing right when your thoughts get heavy, or that spider appearing again and again in moments of emotional chaos? What if every one of them is a message? Not a coincidence, not a distraction, but a sacred signal from the invisible world, a direct response to your soul's transformation. You see, when your spirit begins to awaken, the universe doesn't always speak with words. It whispers through symbols, through nature, through the presence of animals that most people overlook. And yet, you noticed, that's not by chance. That's alignment. Because when your inner world begins to shift, your external world starts sending messages. Subtle, repetitive, divine. These animals are more than creatures. They are mirrors of your spirit, guides of your journey. And when one appears, especially more than once, you'd better believe the universe is speaking directly to you. Today, you're going to uncover the 5 sacred animals that almost always show up during a spiritual awakening. Not in fairy tales, but in your life. Each one carries a message that is too powerful to ignore and too precise to be random. So, if you've been sensing something deeper in their presence, you're right. This video is your confirmation. But listen carefully. If you ignore these signs, you may miss the very answer your soul has been silently begging for. This message was sent for you.
And once you understand it, nothing in your life will ever look the same again.
Now, before we reveal the first animal, if you feel something stirring inside of you, if this resonates with a part of you that you can't explain, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment 99 below. Why 99? Because 9 is the number of spiritual completion. And when it doubles, it means something is ending so something greater can begin. This moment, this message, could be the start of your next chapter. Let's begin.
1. The butterfly. Your soul is ready for rebirth. You don't just see a butterfly, you feel it.
There's something about the way it appears. Delicate, silent, sudden, as if it's not fluttering by but hovering in your atmosphere, like it knows something you don't. And maybe it does. When a butterfly shows up during your awakening, it's not there to beautify the moment. It's there to interrupt it, to pierce through your routine with a message from the divine. Who you are no longer fits who you are becoming.
Butterflies don't come to comfort.
They come to disrupt the illusion of comfort. Because spiritual transformation doesn't start with clarity. It starts with discomfort. That stuck energy, that strange restlessness, that knowing feeling that something in your life no longer makes sense, no matter how long you've carried it, that's the cocoon cracking. That's your spirit preparing for flight. Butterflies show up when you're being asked to let go of attachments that once defined you but are now draining you. A job that no longer aligns, a friendship that doesn't feel safe, a version of yourself that plays small to survive instead of rising to evolve.
You may ignore the feeling.
You may even numb it, but the universe doesn't. And so, it sends a butterfly again and again and again. Because repetition is the language of the soul, and the butterfly's message is never rushed but always urgent. It's time to become what you were always meant to be. But here's the part most people miss. The butterfly doesn't begin beautiful.
It begins in darkness. It begins alone.
It begins by dissolving itself inside a cocoon until everything it once was is no longer there.
Total surrender.
That's the price of transformation. So if butterflies are circling your path right now, you're being called to enter your own cocoon. Not to hide, but to heal. Not to escape, but to evolve. And yes, it might get lonely. Yes, it might feel like nothing is happening. But trust me, the breakdown is not the end. It's the preparation for emergence. Some spiritual traditions even believe that butterflies carry messages from ancestors, guides, or loved ones who have crossed over. They come when your heart is whispering questions into the silence. They appear when the veil between worlds grows thin and something greater is trying to reach you. So if you felt watched, protected, guided, you're not imagining it.
The butterfly doesn't shout.
It glides in, soft but undeniable, to say, "You are not who you were yesterday.
Stop living like you are."
And the real question is, will you listen? Because here's a truth few are ready to face. The butterfly doesn't chase anything. It becomes so light, so aligned, so radiant that it naturally rises. And maybe, just maybe, The reason you felt so heavy lately is because it's finally time to let go of everything that can't fly with you. But before you spread your wings, there's something else you need to see. Because right after the butterfly comes something completely different, something small but powerful. And if you overlook it, you might miss the very blueprint for building your new life.
Stay with me.
You're about to discover it. 2. The ant. It's time to rebuild your foundation. Not every spiritual message comes wrapped in beauty. Some arrive quietly, crawling across your floor, unnoticed by most, ignored by many. But to the awakened soul, they are unmistakable. The ant does not roar. It doesn't flutter like the butterfly or soar like the bird. It walks silently, deliberately. Yet, when it shows up, especially in places it shouldn't be, it's sending a spiritual memo you can't afford to ignore. Your foundation is cracking. It's time to rebuild. Think about where they appear. Your kitchen, your bedroom, your desk. Not the forest, but your sacred space. And suddenly, they're everywhere. 1, then 5, then a trail.
And still, you hesitate. You grab a broom. You get annoyed.
But the ants didn't come to disrupt. They came to reveal the disarray, the delay, the denial. You see, the ant is a master of divine order. Every step it takes is backed by intention. Every movement is synced to a greater plan. So when ants invade your life, they're not just signaling a mess in your home. They're pointing to a mess in your mind, in your habits, in your energetic field. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Spiritual growth without structure is just chaos with candles. You cannot build higher if the ground beneath you is unstable. Ants show up when your dreams are big, but your daily life can't support them.
They whisper, slow down.
Simplify. Strengthen your base. And yet, there's more. The most overlooked message of the ant is this. You were never meant to do this alone. Look at them. They don't isolate. They collaborate. They remind you that asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. That divine timing often requires divine support. That trying to carry the world on your own back is the fastest way to collapse. So if you've been pushing forward in silence, refusing to delegate, avoiding rest, telling yourself, I've got this, while everything in your life screams otherwise, the ant is here to interrupt that illusion.
To ask, where are you overfunctioning out of fear?
Where are you pretending to be okay just to keep everything from falling apart? Their medicine is humble but potent because they don't just survive. They build empires from dust. One piece at a time, one sacred routine at a time, one soul-aligned step at a time. So maybe your next spiritual breakthrough isn't in another retreat or ritual. Maybe it's in cleaning your room, clearing your schedule, writing down your true priorities, and cutting what doesn't serve. Maybe your soul doesn't need more input. Maybe it needs integration. And when you begin, when you finally pause the noise and lay the first conscious brick of your new foundation, everything changes. Because the moment your inner world gets in order, the outer world stops fighting you. But don't move on just yet, because the next animal doesn't walk, it doesn't crawl. It flies straight into your life with a message from the higher realms. And what it has to say might be the answer to that question you've been too afraid to ask out loud. 3. The bird. Heaven is speaking.
Are you listening?
Some signs don't walk into your life. They descend. They arrive not with thunder but with wings, not with chaos but with clarity. They show up right when your heart is heavy and your mind is loud. And they do something strange, something you can't quite explain.
A sudden tap on the window. A bird that lands too close.
One that sings too loudly right when your thoughts start to spiral.
Coincidence?
No. That's intervention. In the realm of spiritual awakening, birds are not background noise. They are divine messengers, spiritual antennas that carry frequencies from the unseen, from heaven, from your guides, from your own soul trying desperately to cut through the static. Each bird is a vibration, each species a coded message. And the moment you start paying attention, you realize they've been trying to reach you all along. A hummingbird doesn't just bring beauty, it brings joy in the middle of despair.
It hovers when you've forgotten how to stay still.
It appears when you need sweetness more than solutions. The crow, often misunderstood, but make no mistake, is one of the most powerful messengers in spiritual transformation. It doesn't bring death. It brings rebirth. It circles when something in your life must be let go for something greater to be born. And the songbird, that persistent melody outside your window when you can't sleep, is not trying to entertain you. It's trying to remind you, joy still lives here, even now, even after everything. Birds do not show up to fill space. They show up to break your rhythm, to lift your gaze from the ground, and to remind you that you are not just flesh and worry.
You are spirit. You are vast. And you are not alone.
But here's what most people miss. Birds don't just communicate what's happening. They announce what's about to happen. A woman spiraling in grief once told a story. Every day at the same hour, a dove would land on her balcony. Same time, same spot. No explanation. At first, she ignored it. Then she began to listen. And one day, the dove stayed longer. For the first time, she cried, not from pain, but from release. She said it felt like her soul had been waiting for permission to exhale.
That is what birds do.
They bring the permission your spirit has been waiting for, to let go, to forgive, to hope again. So if a bird has been circling you, if it keeps returning, if it won't leave you alone, that's not nature, that's navigation. Your soul is being rerouted, recentered, reconnected. But here's the test. Will you pause long enough to receive it?
Because in a world addicted to noise, only the still can hear heaven.
And heaven doesn't always send signs through prophets or dreams. Sometimes, it sends feathers. So listen, not just with your ears, but with your awareness.
Because once the bird flees, the message changes.
And what comes next is not delicate. It does not flutter or float. It weaves. It waits.
It watches from the shadows.
And it may hold the key to breaking the very cycles you've been trapped in for years. 4. The spider. You're weaving something you don't even see yet. Not every divine sign comes with wings or melody. Some signs come in silence, in stillness, in the corners of your life you try not to look at. The spider doesn't announce herself. She waits. She builds. She knows. And when she begins to appear, on your ceiling, in your bathroom, on the edge of your mirror just as you're staring at your own reflection, she isn't there to scare you. She's there to reveal you. In spiritual symbolism, the spider is the keeper of the web. Not just the literal one, but the energetic one. The web you've been weaving with every thought, belief, memory, emotion, and fear. You may think you're just surviving, just doing your best. But in the spiritual world, every habit you repeat, every emotion you hold on to, every choice you keep avoiding, it's all thread. And that thread is forming a pattern, a design, a destiny. The spider doesn't ask, "What are you doing?" She asks, "What are you creating?" without even realizing it. She shows up when you're stuck in loops, when you say, "Why does this keep happening to me?" When the faces change, but the pain stays the same. That's when the spider appears to say, "This isn't random. This is a web, and you're the weaver."
She doesn't rush you.
She doesn't panic.
She reminds you of something you've forgotten in the chaos. Creation takes time. Real, lasting transformation takes patience.
The most sacred structures are not built overnight. They are spun one intentional thread at a time. But here's the twist. The same power that creates a trap can create a bridge. It all depends on your awareness. Are you weaving a reality that empowers you or one that keeps you bound to who you no longer want to be? The spider asks you to look deeper at your patterns, your emotional reflexes, your spiritual autopilot, and then to choose consciously what you want to spin next. But be warned, ignoring her doesn't make the web disappear. It just makes you more entangled in it. She teaches that sometimes what feels like stagnation is actually sacred construction. And sometimes, what looks like nothing happening on the outside is actually everything realigning on the inside. One man once told of a time spiders began appearing everywhere. In his car, his closet, even his dreams. At first, he panicked. But the more he ran, the more they showed up. Until one day, he stopped running and realized he was repeating the exact same emotional cycle in every relationship, including the one with himself. That realization unraveled the entire web. And that's the beauty of the spider. She won't force the truth on you. She'll just keep spinning until you're ready to see it. So, if you've been seeing spiders, or dreaming of them, or feeling like your life is quietly shifting behind the scenes, know this: you're not stuck.
You're weaving.
But what you're weaving now is either your next breakthrough or your next breakdown. So, choose wisely, because once the web is complete, it becomes the reality you live in. And just when you think you understand the patterns, the universe sends you something wild, unexpected, primal. It doesn't float or crawl. 5. The frog, release the old. It's time to purify. The frog doesn't enter your life politely. It leaps in unexpectedly, out of the shadows, out of the mud, out of nowhere, but somehow right on time. And when it does, you feel it. That jolt. That moment of, what is this trying to tell me? Because deep down, your spirit knows. This isn't random. It's a summons. In spiritual language, the frog is not a symbol of luck or fear. It is a gatekeeper of transformation, a guide between the seen and unseen, a creature that dwells between earth and water, the tangible and the emotional, the physical and the spiritual. It arrives when your inner waters have become toxic, when you've held in too much pain, when you've stored too many secrets, when you're weighed down by grief you promised yourself you'd already gotten over. But the body remembers, the spirit remembers, and when it's time to clear it all out, the frog arrives. It doesn't speak. It doesn't comfort.
It confronts.
And it says without saying a word, you are full. It's time to empty. Maybe it's been years since you really cried, since you let the dam break, since you screamed into the silence or wrote that truth you swore you'd bury forever. Maybe you've been pretending you're fine, but inside, your soul is suffocating. The frog doesn't care about appearances. It doesn't care how spiritual you look. It only cares about what you're holding that is no longer yours to carry. Have you ever noticed how frogs show up after the rain? After the storm has passed, when everything smells like renewal, like the earth itself has just exhaled?
That is the invitation. Let it rain inside of you. Let the grief freeze.
Let the sadness be felt. Let the guilt speak, not to shame you, but to leave you. Because the frog brings purification, not punishment. Some say it's the spirit animal of shamans. Others say it appears to those standing on the edge of a new life, but still clinging to the old one. And if you've seen frogs appearing on your path, especially at night or right after an emotional trigger, then your soul is being called into ritual release. It may be time to journal every secret you've hidden and burn the page. Time to take a salt bath and cry without shame. Time to speak that truth to the person who still echoes in your bones. Time to forgive yourself for not knowing how to let go sooner. The frog does not promise instant peace, but it does promise cleansing. And with cleansing comes clarity. With clarity comes courage. And with courage comes rebirth. So if the frog has entered your world, don't step over it.
Don't brush it away.
Listen. Because what you've been begging the universe to give you, a sign, a shift, a breakthrough, might be waiting on the other side of your release.
And once you release, you rise.
But here's the most sacred secret the frog leaves behind. The final layer of transformation doesn't come through effort. It comes through surrender. And now that you've heard the whispers of the butterfly, the discipline of the ant, the song of the bird, the pattern of the spider, and the cleansing cry of the frog, it's time.
Time to step back.
Time to see the full picture. Because when all 5 messengers appear, it means something deeper is awakening inside you.
Something irreversible. Something divine.
And in the final moments of this message, you're going to feel it. You used to call it coincidence.
You used to call it nature. Now you know better.
That butterfly wasn't just beautiful. It was calling you to transform. That trail of ants was guiding you to rebuild from the inside out. The bird's melody was a message straight from the divine, asking, "Are you still listening?" The spider in the corner was reflecting the very patterns you've been caught in. And the frog was not a disturbance, but a ritual of release. They weren't here to decorate your life. They were here to awaken it. Because when you start to see differently, you start to live differently.
The universe doesn't knock.
It doesn't scream. It whispers through wings, through webs, through rain-soaked steps in the dark. And only those who are ready, truly ready, will understand.
You're not crazy.
You're not imagining it.
You're not alone.
You're being initiated into deeper awareness, into sacred responsibility, into a life where everything, every moment, every creature, every shadow, has meaning. So I ask you now, chosen soul, will you honor what you've seen today? Will you step forward with eyes wide open and a spirit fully alert?
Because nothing will ever look the same again. Not your home, not your thoughts, not the way you walk through the world.
You've been marked by the signs, and they've led you here to this very moment.
Comment below. The universe is speaking.
I'm finally listening. Type it as a declaration.
Let it echo in your energy.
Let it stamp today as the day you woke up. And if this message stirred something in you, share it. Let it reach the next soul who needs to remember what their instincts have been whispering for years. Because truth doesn't belong to one. It ripples. It expands. It awakens the world one heart at a time. You've seen the signs.
You've heard the call.
Now it's your turn to answer. You are not the same person who clicked play.
You've been touched by something deeper.
And from this moment forward, you don't just walk the path. You walk with purpose, with vision, with fire in your soul. Go become what the signs have always known you were meant to be. Awakened, aligned, unstoppable.